Tiffany, there is something that I would like to ask you because very often I realize that Brazilian entrepreneurs, they are scared, really scared to fail. Our culture is not very used with failure. And I wanted to know more about how is startups in Silicon Valley, how the entrepreneurs face that.
Virginia, I've just not seen that in Brazil. I've seen that as a global problem.
Yes.
Whether you're in Europe or South Africa, Asia, there is this incredible fear of failure because it comes from the culture. Often if you're putting on a resume, well, I did this startup, we did it for 2 years, and the employer says, well, what happened? Well, we went bankrupt. And now they feel no one wants to hire them because they failed.
Yeah.
So when you come into something clenched with fear of failure, do you think your odds of success are higher or lower? They're probably lower. So what is so different in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, where we're standing now at the America's Cup, is that the average entrepreneur in San Francisco fails 2.5 times before they hit it big.
Oh, this is a very important.
2.5 times, and you will see almost every VC will look at a failure as a stepping stone to success. As long as the entrepreneur can come into a meeting and explain, well, I started this company, here's what went wrong.
This is what I learned from the mistake.
This is what I learned from the mistake, and still has that passion.
Yeah.
And that, as we joked earlier, that nutso attitude that I can do it regardless. Then the investor, whether it's an angel or even a strategic partner who may be closing that first deal, if they can look into that entrepreneur's eyes and say, all right, I believe you. I believe that you can do this, then it doesn't matter whether you failed or not. And that's part of the reasons when I coach, I try to teach them that, to say, let the failure go. You may not make it. Look, the average person in Silicon Valley doesn't make it. Not their first time, not even their second time. A lot of people give up after 2 times.
Yes, yes.
There's a rule that I talk about in sales, and that is you need to ask 7 times before you get a yes. 7? People say? Really? People ask a lot once.
Yeah, and
maybe twice.
And they're very afraid to make the first question. Ask the first question. Yes.
Yes. And so 7 times I tell people that, and they cannot believe it. But I tell you, when I came from the more traditional tech sales, that after that 7th time, I almost always got a yes. Now, often I got yeses before 7, but I didn't give up until the 7th ask. And then, of course, you don't want to irritate anybody.
Yes.
So if after 7 times, you're stalking them parked in front of their house, no, just kidding.
So,
then it's time to give it up.
You have to be persistent, but you have to know the limit. Well, okay, persistence and passion. But how do you discover that you're passionate about it?
Well, passion has to come from within. So if you're the entrepreneur, do not start a company that you don't wake up eager to literally cartwheel out of bed and go, yes, this is my idea. I'm going to talk to this person today, and let me tell you why. Being an entrepreneur is a roller coaster ride. Or maybe being like this giant ship in a hurricane, right? Yeah, sometimes you got smooth sailing waters, but frankly, you better be a darn good sailor because you're gonna hit high winds. You might get in the midst of a hurricane. And like a good captain, like they'll talk about on America's Cup, a good captain, even in dire circumstances, son is talking to his mates because now they all have the computerized headset. Okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. You look at the New Zealand's about to tip over. The captain's totally calm. He's just cranking the hydraulics. Put the boat back right.
But the boat on the water.
Yes.
The boat must be in the water.
So the captain, the CEO, the entrepreneur, if you are not totally passionate about that, how are you gonna be this calm person?
Yes.
Everyone you hire is looking at you as the one to be the calm in the storm. Oh my God, we just launched this major partnership deal. What are we gonna do? Captain says, no problem. I've got some other ideas lined up. Here's our plan. Is always optimistic, a bit of a cheerleader, and that's how you get your team to stick with you. You be an incredible captain.
But when you're young, it's tough to be like calm and, deep breath and go. Like
all entrepreneurs are different. So some entrepreneurs I meet can be 20 years old, calm as a cucumber. My 11-year-old, as an entrepreneur, is was the calmest kid I ever met. I tried to tell him, you should be a little more scared, a little more worried.
No, I'm
but-
fine. Yeah.
So it really is personality driven. Some people I actually would discourage from entrepreneurship. Having just coached 30 engineers in Florianopolis, Brazil, some people I can look and know they're not going to make it
Yeah.
because there's too much fear. They're too quiet. They're too meek and timid. Entrepreneurship, in the Valley at least, really calls for this aggressive, outstanding behavior and personality.
Yeah, actually, talking about fear, this was one of the sentences of posters that there was all over Facebook yesterday. What would you do if you didn't fear?
Yes.
So,
if you didn't have fear, what would
Yeah.
you do with your life?
Yes.
How many of us would start companies?
yeah. So, and that was all over Facebook. So this is very nice. Like, synchronicity.
Synchronicity, absolutely. And you've
Yeah.
experienced some of that since you arrived.
Yes.
That's another thing I talk about is synchronicity, because I have to say my success as an entrepreneur often comes from being in the right place
At the right time.
at the right time, but being hyper alert. I'm just not walking around a room wondering who I'm going to run into. I am hyper aware and am positive. And when you're positive, I'm smiling.
Yes.
So who is likely to come talk to me? Or if I talk to someone, are they likely to respond? If I'm happy and relaxed and smiling, or if I'm like, hello,
Yes.
I hear you're an investor, I have a plan. The investor goes, oh no, gotta go to the bathroom.
Yes.
But if you're walking up positive, light, kind of a little bit of a hummingbird attitude, they're gonna talk to you.
Definitely. And if you're smiling, they will smile back.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah. And if they don't, it was just not the right person at that time.
And it might not be. And so you can't take it personally.
Yes.
They may have just gotten bad news on the phone. It's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
One thing entrepreneurs really have to do is get your pitch down. It's so often that you meet the right person at the right time, and you literally have 2 minutes to
You have
impress.
to be prepared. Yeah.
I feel I can assess someone in 5 seconds. I'm not kidding. It's a blink. Malcolm Gladwell has a great book called Blink.
Yes.
And I've been doing that most of my life, where if you walked up to me in 5 seconds, I can get an assessment of who you are, whether I want to talk to you, what kind of personality you have. So if you're the entrepreneur trying to put the best face, you have to walk up with confidence and say,
Yeah.
hi, it's nice to meet you. And they'll say, what do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm starting a women's empowerment site. We've got about 25 million potential customers. And right now we're raising about $1 million from investors. I'm not
Great.
asking the person to write a check. They did ask me what I wanted.
Yeah.
And
very
they might
good.
say, tell me more, of which I have my next sentence already lined up. They don't stumble and go,
Yeah, definitely. And do you think that this power of synchronicity and being able to just look at someone and blink, it comes with time? How do you develop that?
Well, we often don't trust our instincts. Now,
Yes,
as a
true.
young entrepreneur, even a foreign entrepreneur who doesn't understand the nuances of the Valley yet or San Francisco, you might misjudge certain clues. So what I recommend is that as an entrepreneur, you go to a lot of these network events, don't talk to anyone for a little bit, sit against the wall and watch. And go, and record it in your head, because that will give you these little nuances. Hey, wait, why is that VC talking to that guy or gal for
How
5
is
minutes,
their
and that
body
other one,
language?
they're like
Yeah.
pushed along their way?
And pay attention to body language as well.
Yes, body language. So when you're young, you develop these clues, but you have to trust your intuition.
Yeah.
Think about times in your life where you had a feeling, but you did the opposite, and
Yeah.
it went wrong. So if you really trust what your gut says, and kind of let that synchronicity and, let's say, universal inspiration come in, it's
And
often on target for you.
Yes, and you know what? I've never heard all this about San Francisco and Silicon Valley before coming here.
Yeah.
This is something that people don't tell.
Yeah, it's true. And part of
Yes.
the reason we're doing this whole startup TV series is to give outsiders the inside scoop.
Yeah.
And from someone who's been here 20 years.
Definitely, because it's totally different if you come to a conference, you spend the whole day at a conference or the whole
No,
week.
they're not going to talk about that.
No, they're not going to talk about synchronicity. You have to experience, and
Yeah.
to experience it, you have to walk around the city. You have
Yeah.
to go to cafes, you have to go to the beach,
Yeah.
and meet someone on the roadside, as we did it by accident.
Yeah.
And well, now we have a coffee with a guy that co-founded 4 startups with Steve Wozniak.
Yes, exactly.
How could that happen?
I
Yeah.
talk to everybody, no matter where I am. I think sometimes my friends probably think I'm nuts. I'm in the Apple store. I'm talking to the owner of this dog. I'm at the cafe. I'm talking to this guy. Remember
Yes.
when we got a drink at the bar next to LucasArts?
Yes.
Talked to that guy. He was an editor. We need an editor. And so if you don't have your eyes wide open and a positive attitude,
Yes.
a cheery attitude, it's going to be harder to meet people.
Yeah, this is. I think this is really like the leap of faith that people talk about. It's not just assuming risks. Of course, this is a great part of that, but also believing it. So you have to believe it. You have to be open, and this is more challenging than anything else. Like for human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we look at these yachts, and I did joke, when you go IPO, that you can all of a sudden afford your $150 million Maltese Falcon yacht. Not here, but we can look that up online. But it's not about the money. Actually,
Yes.
true successful entrepreneurs, I have yet to find one that did it for the money.
No.
They're doing it for the passion. And with that, the money comes.
Yes. I see it not an opportunity to get money, but an opportunity to change a little environment. Like if I have my own company, I am able to change that environment. I can create a better culture with good employees, like feeling that they are part of the company. So it's beyond the money. It's about people.
So what I'd love to talk about is corporate culture.
Yes.
Now, often you have an engineer who has a great idea. Let's say they're savvy enough to raise some money.
Yes.
They probably don't have a lot of management experience.
Definitely.
So early on, there might be some hiring mistakes, or maybe they need to, like me, hire 100 people in 6 months.
Wow, that must be challenging.
It's very challenging. In fact, I knew how challenging it was, so I hired what's called a culture coach.
very smart.
A culture coach is a woman who has a psychology background, who worked in her office 2 full days a week and tried to get to employees to work out their differences. Because trust me, you bring 100 people together in a 6-month period who didn't know each other before.
Yeah, it's not easy with 3 people, like 3 co-founders. It's already difficult.
Yeah.
Imagine hiring 100 people at once.
Right, and it made such a difference because often people want to brush problems under the rug. You can't do that with a culture coach.
No.
You bring them in, you have a nice, open, honest forum. Now, it's not an HR, it's not human resources, which someone will say could destroy your company because they're so rule-driven.
Uh-huh.
It's really someone trying to get to the heart of the matter.
What is the spirit of the company? What do you want? How do you want people to feel inside your company?
Yeah.
Yes, this is important.
So I recommend to anyone who is successful enough to raise some money to think about how they're going to build a culture that reflects who they truly are. And then they'll hire people that really resonate with who they truly are. And then you'll have less conflicts. And if you have less conflicts, that roller coaster ride gets a little bit smoother.
Yes, for sure.
So when you hit that hockey stick growth, now you're kind of a rocket taking off instead of just gliding to success.
Definitely. And yesterday we were at Facebook, and we were talking with this girl that she works there, and she mentioned that she really liked it to work there because they're from 6 to 6 months they can change the area where they work, so they keep track like with their motivation. So they can change the area, they can learn new skills because they're working somewhere else, and this is very important. And honestly, that she mentioned that she rather Facebook because of that than Google, because she worked at Google at the same time.
And they did do that. Now, I've heard a lot of startups, because now you've got some early millionaires. You have a 27-year-old millionaire, which, could take 5 years off. So they have to motivate them in different ways.
Yes.
Because if they got there in the first place, they're probably intrinsically motivated, which means they love to work. They love their jobs, but they want to constantly be challenged in new and exciting ways. So a good company will allow its employees ways to create new challenges to grow personally and at the same time give back to the company so everybody succeeds.
definitely. Yeah, this is what I'm hoping for my company in a couple of years, maybe.